Mic check 1, 2, 3. Okay. Sharing the same link on Twitter. So I ran a poll on Twitter where I said whose book should we read now. So far the poll is going on. Let's wait for the result. And I shall be having the casting vote. If there is 50-50% voting, and I will choose Ravish Kumar because he's my favorite. So, okay, sharing the link on Twitter. Link shared. Walaikum assalam, Cinnamon. Walaikum assalam, Liaquat. Welcome to the stream. Hopefully आप सब ठीक होंगे, खैरियत होंगे, आपके रोज़े ठीक जा रहे होंगे. So I just ran a poll. So I have this book in my hand, Alchemist Paulo Colahocki और रवीश कुमार की ये वाली फ्री वाइस ऑन डेमोक्रेसी कल्चर एंड द नेशन. तो मैं इसको पढ़ना चाहता था, बट देखते हैं वोटिंग किसके फेवर में जाएगी, और अकॉर्डिंगली वी विल रीड द बुक. So far we have reached, okay, we have a situation of 52% and 48%. 48% people are in favor of Ravi Kumar, and 52% are in favor of this bald Paulo Coelho. So, तो अभी तक हम जो पढ़ रहे थे वो बुक जो है द प्रॉफिट किनकी है, खलील जिब्रान की. सो आई जस्ट स्टॉप दिया. थोड़ा सा इसका पढ़ लेते हैं, देन विल स्टॉप, और फिर देखते हैं पोल किसके फेवर में जाएगा, देन हम वो बुक भी साथ में स्टार्ट करेंगे. एज यू नो, इस बुक के बैकग्राउंड में अभी तक तो मैंने कुछ कहा नहीं, थोड़ी देर बाद मैं कह दूंगा थोड़ा थोड़ा करके, बट फिलहाल हम जस्ट थोड़ा रीडिंग कर लेते हैं. हम शायद ओरेटर तक आ गए थे. ओरेटर फ्रीडम के बारे में, आई थिंक सो. हाँ, तो वालेकुम अस्सलाम, हेलो वर्ल्ड. हाँ बिल्कुल. सो वी वर हियर. तो मैं पढ़ने जा रहा हूँ बिकॉज वी डोंट हैव मच ऑफ अ टाइम. सो आई एम गोइंग टू रीड इट एंड यू जस्ट लिसन टू इट. अगर आपको कहीं कोई बात समझ ना आए, बस मैं आई कांट मेक यू अंडरस्टैंड हियर, तो उसके लिए यू कैन टेक्स्ट मी. उसके लिए मैं सेपरेटली आपको एक ऑडियो भेज दूंगा कहाँ पे क्या कह रहा है. ऐसे अगर मैं बुक समझाने लगूं तो इट विल टेक मी ईयर. ठीक है ना, एटलीस्ट अ ईयर. इस बुक को समझाने में इट विल टेक अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम, और वो ना मेरे पास है और ना आपके पास, और स्पेशली गिवन द सर्कमस्टांसेस. वालेकुम अस्सलाम मुदस्सर साहब. यहाँ पे तो बिल्कुल भी नहीं कर सकते. यहाँ पे कितना ही टाइम होता है हमारे पास, घंटा 1 घंटा, उसमें भी अगर हम समझाने लगे तो आई फील लाइक यहाँ पे लोग रहेंगे ही नहीं सुनने के लिए, क्योंकि लोगों को चाहिए, यू नो इट, दे वांट एंटरटेनमेंट और कुछ भी नहीं. उन्हें सीखना नहीं है, उन्हें चाहिए मजा. ठीक है. सो मैं स्टार्ट करने जा रहा हूँ. एन नरेटर सेड, स्पीक टू अस ऑफ फ्रीडम, एंड ही आंसर्ड, एट द टी गेट And by your fireside, I have seen you prostrate yourself and worship your own freedom, even as slaves humble themselves before a tyrant and praise him though he slays them. In the grove of the temple and in the shadow of the studdle, I have seen the freest among you, wear their freedom as a yoke and a handcuff, and my heart bled within me. For you can only be free when even the desire of seeking freedom becomes a harness to you, and when you cease to speak of freedom as a goal and a fulfillment. You shall be free indeed when your days are not without a care for your nights, nor your nights without a want and a grief, but rather when these things girdle your life, and yet you rise above them, naked and unbound. And how shall you rise beyond your days and nights unless you break the chains which you at the dawn of your understanding have fastened around your noon hour? In truth, that which you call freedom is the strongest of these chains, though its links glitter in the sun and dazzle your eyes. And what is it but fragments of yourself you would discard that you may become free? If it is an unjust law you would abolish, that law was written with your own hand upon your own forehead. You cannot erase it by burning your law books, nor by washing the foreheads of your judges, though you pour the sun upon them. And if it is a despot you would dethrone, see first that his throne erected within you is destroyed. For how can a tyrant rule the free and the proud, but for a tyranny in their own freedom and a shame in their own pride? And if it is a care you would cast off, that cart has been chosen by you rather than imposed upon you. And if it is a fear you would dispel, the seat of that fear is in your heart and not in the hand of the feared. Verily, all things move within your being in constant half embrace, the desired and the dreaded, the repugnant and the cherished, the pursued and that which you would escape. These things move within you as lights and shadows in pairs that clinch. And when the shadow fades and is no more, the light that lingers becomes a shadow to another light. And thus your freedom, when it loses its fetters, becomes itself the fetter of a greater freedom. And the priestess spoke again and said, "Speak to us of reason and passion." And he answered, saying, "Your soul is oftentimes a battlefield, upon which your reason and your judgment wage war against your passion and your appetite. Would that I could be the pacemaker in your soul, and that I might turn the discord and the rivalry of your elements into the oneness and melody. But how shall I, unless you yourself be also the pacemakers, nay, the lovers of all your elements? Your reason and your passion are the rudder and the sails of your seafaring soul. If either your sails or your rudder be broken, you can but toss and drift, or else be held at a standstill in mid seas. For reason ruling alone is a force confining, and passion unattended is a flame that burns to its own destruction. Therefore, let your soul exalt your reason to the height of passion, that it may sing, and let it direct your passion with reason, that your passion may live through its own daily resurrection, and like the phoenix, rise above its own ashes. I would have considered I would have considered your judgment and your appetite even as you would to love guests in your house. Surely you would not honor one guest above the other. For he who is more mindful of one's losses, the love and the faith of both. Among the hills, when you sit in the cool shade of white poplars, sharing the peace and the serenity of the distant fields and the meadows, then let your heart say in silence, God rests in reason. And when the storm comes, and the mighty wind shakes the forests, and thunder and lightning proclaim the majesty of the sky, then let your heart say in awe, God moves in passion. And since you are a breath in God's sphere and a leaf in God's forest, you too should rest in reason and move in passion. And a woman spoke, saying, tell us of pain. And he said, your pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding. Even as the stone of the fruit must break, that its heart may stand in the sun, so must you know pain. And could you keep your heart in wonder at the daily miracles of your life, your pain would not seem less wondrous than your joy. And you would accept the seasons of your heart, even as you have always accepted the seasons that pass over your fields, and you would watch with serenity through the winters of your grief. Much of your pain is self chosen. It is the bitter portion by which the physician within you heals your sick self. Therefore, trust the physician and drink his remedy in silence and tranquility. For his hand, though heavy and hard, is guided by the tender hand of unseen. And the cup he brings, though it may burn your lips, has been fashioned of the clay which the potter has moistened his own sacred tears. And a man said, speak to us of self knowledge. And he answered, saying, your hearts know in silence the secrets of the days and the nights, but your ears thirst for the sound of your heart's knowledge. You would know in words that which you have always known in thought. You would touch with your fingers the naked body of your dreams. And it is well you should. The hidden wellspring of your soul must needs rise and run murmuring to the sea, and the treasure of your infinite depths would be revealed to your eyes. But let there be no scales to weigh your unknown treasure, and seek not the depths of your knowledge with the staff or sounding line, for self is a sea boundless and measureless. Say not, I have found the truth, but rather, I have found a truth. Say not, I have found the truth, but rather, I have found a truth. Say not, I have found the path of the soul. Say rather, I have met the soul walking upon my path. For the soul walks upon all paths. The soul walks not upon a line, neither does it grow like a reed. The soul unfolds itself like a lotus of countless petals. Then said a teacher, speak to us of teaching. And he said, no man can reveal to you aught but that which already lies half asleep in the dawning of your knowledge. The teacher who walks in the shadow of the temple among his followers gives not of his wisdom, but rather of his faith and his lovingness. If he is indeed wise, he does not bid you enter the house of his wisdom, but rather leads you to the threshold of your own mind. The astronomer may speak to you of his understanding of the space, but he cannot give you his understanding. The musician may sing to you of the rhythm which is in all space, but he cannot give you the ear which arrests the rhythm and the voice that echoes it. And he who is versed in the science of the numbers can tell of the regions of weight and measure, but he cannot conduct you thither. For the vision of one man lends not its wings to another man. And even as each one of you stands alone in God's knowledge, so must each one of you be alone in his knowledge of God and in his understanding of the earth. And the youth said, speak to us of friendship. Now, this is interesting. This is very beautiful. And he answered, saying, your friend is your needs answered. He is your field which you sow with love and reap with thanksgiving. And he is your board and your fireside. For you come to him with your hunger, and you seek him for peace. When your friend speaks his mind, you will fear not the nay in your mind, nor do you withhold the eye. And when he is silent, your heart ceases not to listen to his heart. For without words in friendship, all thoughts, all desires, all expectations are born and shared with joy that is unclaimed. When you part from your friend, you grieve not. For that which you love most in him may be clearer in his absence, as the mountain to the climber is clearer from the plain. And let there be no purpose in friendship save the deepening of the spirit. For love that seeks aught but the disclosure of its own mystery is not love, but a net cast forth. And only the unprofitable is God. And let your best be for your friend. And if he must know the ebb of your tide, let him know its flood also. For what is your friend that you should seek him with hours to kill? Seek him always with hours to live. कितनी खूबसूरत बात है. For what is your friend that you should seek with hours to kill? Seek him always with hours to live. For it is his to fill your need, but not your emptiness. And is in the sweetness of friendship, let there be laughter and sharing of pleasures. For in the dew of little things that heart finds its morning and is refreshed. And then a scholar said, speak of talking. And he answered, saying, you talk when you cease to be at peace with ये बहुत जगह कॉपी किया गया है और इसको चिपकाया गया है इस थॉट को. Let me see. We are three in number here. Walaikum assalam, NC. So NC is with us, Cinnamon is with us, and Mudassir is with us. Okay, cool. हम continue करते हैं. And then a scholar said, speak of talking. ये बहुत जगह कॉपी किया गया है, इसको ध्यान रखिएगा. And he answered, saying, you talk when you cease to be at peace with your thoughts, and when you can no longer dwell in the solitude of your heart, you live in your lips, and sound is a diversion and a pastime. And in much of your talking, thinking is half murdered. For thought is a bird of space, and that in a cage of words may indeed unfold its wings but cannot fly. इसी को जॉन कहते हैं वजूद ख्याल का जवाल है. For thought is a bird of space, and that in a cage of words may indeed unfold its wings but cannot fly. There are those among you who seek the talkative through fear of being alone. The silence of aloneness reveals to their eyes their naked selves, and they would escape. And there are those who talk, and without knowledge or forethought, reveal a truth which they themselves do not understand. And there are those who have truth within them, but they tell it not in words. In the bosom of such as these, the spirit dwells in the rhythmic silence. When you meet your friend on the roadside or in the marketplace, let the spirit in you move your lips and direct your tongue. Let the voice within you wise speak to the ear of his ear, for his soul will keep the truth of your heart as the taste of the wine is remembered when the color is forgotten and the vessel is no more. And an astronomer said, Master, what of time? This is also, oh, this is so much. इसको ना मद्देनजर रखिए कि यहाँ पे खलील जिब्रान किस तरह वक्त को अहमियत देते हैं और वक्त को किस तरह बयान करते हैं. एंड ही आंसर्ड, you would measure time the measureless and immeasurable. You would adjust your conduct and even direct the course of your spirit according to the hours and seasons. Of time you इसी को बहुत सारे शुआरा महवसाल कहते हैं, गर्दिश कहते हैं वक्त को. किस किस तरह वक्त को बहुत सारे शुआरा हजरात उर्दू वाले जो हैं बयान करते हैं. तो यहाँ पे you would measure the time, the measureless and the immeasurable. You would adjust your conduct and even direct the course of your spirit according to the hours and the seasons. Of time, you would make a stream upon whose bank you would sit and watch its flowing. Yet the timeless in you is aware of life's timelessness and knows that yesterday is but today's memory and tomorrow is today's dream. And that which sings and contemplates in you is still dwelling within the bounds of that first moment which scattered the stars in space. Who among you does not feel that his power to love is boundless? And yet, who does not feel that very love, though boundless, encompasses within the center of his being and moving not from love thought to love thought, nor from love deeds to other love deeds, and is not time even as love is undivided and peaceless. But if in your thought you must measure time into seasons, let each season encircle all the other seasons, and let today embrace the past with remembrance and the future with longing. And one of the elders of the city said, "Speak to us of good and evil." And he answered, "Of the good in you I can speak, but not of the evil. For what is evil but good tortured by its own hunger and thirst? Verily, when you are good, verily, when good is hungry, Verily, when good is hungry, it seeks food even in dark caves, and when it thirsts, it drinks even of dead water. You are good when you are one with yourself. Yet, when you are not one with yourself, you are not evil. For a divided house is not a den of thieves, it's only a divided house. And a ship without rudder may wander aimlessly among perilous isles, yet sink not to the bottom. You are good when you strive to give off yourself. Yet you are not evil when you seek gain for yourself. For when you strive for gain, you are but a root that clings to the earth and sucks at her breast. Surely the fruit cannot say to the root, "Be like me, ripe and full and ever giving of your abundance." For to the fruit giving is a need, and receiving is a need to the root. You are good when you are fully awake in your speech, yet you are not evil when you sleep while your tongue staggers without purpose. And even stumbling speech may strengthen a weak tongue. You are good when you walk to your goal firmly with bold steps. Yet you are not evil when you go thither limping. Even those who limp go not backward, but you who are strong and swift, see that you do not limp before the lame, deeming its kindness. You are good in countless ways, and you are not evil when you are not good. You are only loitering and sluggard. Pity and the stags cannot teach swiftness to the turtles. In your longing for your giant self lies your goodness, and that longing is in all of you. But in some of you, that longing is a torrent, rushing with might to the sea, carrying the secrets of your hillsides and the songs of the forests. And in others, it's a flat stream that loses itself in angles and bends and lingers before it reaches the shore. But not but let not him who longs much to say, who longs little. Wherefore are you slow and halting? For the truly good asked not the naked, "Where is your garment?" nor the houseless, "What has befallen your house?" Then a priestess said, "Speak to us of prayer." And he answered, saying, "You pray in your distress and in your need. Would that you might pray also in the fullness of your joy and in your days of your abundance. कितनी खूबसूरत बात कही. You pray in your distress and in your need. Would that you might pray also in the fullness of your joy and in your days of abundance. For what is prayer but the expansion of yourself into the living ether? And if it is for your comfort to pour your darkness into space, it is also for your delight to pour forth the dawning of your heart. And if you cannot but weep when your soul summons you to prayer, she should spur you again and yet again, though weeping until you shall come laughing. When you pray, you writhe to meet in the ear those who are praying at that very hour, and whom, save in your prayer, you may not meet. Therefore, let your visit to that temple invisible be for naught but ecstasy and sweet communion. For if you should enter the temple for no other purpose than asking, you shall not receive. And if you should enter into it to humble yourself, you shall not be lifted. Or even if you should enter into it to beg for the goods of others, you shall not be heard. It is enough that you enter the temple invisible. This is so beautiful, so beautiful, so beautiful. फिर से मैं इसको पढ़ना चाहूंगा ऊपर से लेके starting से. You pray in your distress and in your need. Would that you pray also in your fullness of your joy and in your days of abundance. कितनी खूबसूरत बात कही है. Therefore, let you visit. Let you visit to the temple invisible be for naught but for ecstasy and sweet communion. For if you should enter the temple for no other purpose than asking, you shall not receive. And if you should enter into it to humble yourself, you should not be lifted. Or even if you should enter into it to beg for the good of others, you should not be heard. It is enough that you enter the temple invisible. I cannot teach you how to pray in words. God listens not to your words, save when He Himself utters them through your lips. And I cannot teach you the prayer of the seas and the forests and the mountains, but you who are born of the mountains and the forests and the seas can find their prayer in your heart. And if you but listen, in the stillness of the night, you shall hear them saying in silence, Our God, who art our winged self, it is thy will in us that willeth. It's thy desire in us that desireth. It is the urge in us that would turn our nights, which are thine, into days, which are thine also. We cannot ask thee for aught, for thou knowest our needs before they are born in us. मतलब ख्वाहिशों का पहले ही पता चल जाती है पहले इन द सेंस गॉड नोज व्हाट इज टू बी born in you before it gets born in you. आप में कोई इच्छा जाहिर होती है, इच्छा जाहिर होने से पहले ही गॉड को पता होती है. We cannot ask thee for aught, for thou knowest our needs before they are born in us. Thou art our need, and in giving us more of thyself thou givest us all. Then Then a hermit who visited the sea once a year came forth and said, Speak to us of pleasure. So, यहाँ से फिर से मैं पढ़ना चाहूंगा pleasure के बारे में. And he answered saying, Pleasure is a freedom song, but it's not freedom. It's the blossoming of your desires, but it's not their fruit. It's a depth calling into unto a height, but it's not the deep nor the high. It's the caged taking wing, but it's not the space encompassed. In very truth, pleasure is a freedom song, and I fain would have you sing it with the fullness of heart, yet I would not have you lose your hearts in the singing. Some of your youth seek pleasure as if it were all, and they are judged and rebuked. I would not judge nor rebuke them. I would have them seek, for they shall find pleasure, but not her alone. Seven are her sisters, and the least of them is more beautiful than pleasure. Have you not heard of the man who was digging in the earths for the roots and found a treasure? And some of your elders remember pleasures with regret like wrongs committed in the darkness, in the drunkenness. But regret is the beclouding of the mind and not in chastisement. They should remember their pleasures with gratitude as they would have harvest of a summer. Yet, if it comforts them to regret, let them be comforted. And there are among you those who are neither young to seek nor old to remember, but in the fear of seeking and remembering they shun all pleasures, lest they neglect of the spirit or offend against it. But even in their foregoing is their pleasure, and thus they too find a treasure, though they dig for roots with caring hands. But tell me, who is he that can offend the spirit? Shall the nightingale offend the stillness of the night, or the firefly the stars? And shall your flame or your smoke burn the wind? Think you the spirit is a still pool which you can trouble with a staff? Oftentimes is denying your pleasure, yourself pleasure, you do but store the desire in the recesses of your being. Who knows but which seems omitted today waits for tomorrow. Even your body knows its heritage and its rightful need, and you will not be deceived. And your body is the harp of your soul, and it's yours to bring forth sweet music from it or confused sounds. And now you ask in your heart, how shall we distinguish that which is good in pleasure from that which is not good? Go to your fields and your gardens, and you shall learn that it is the pleasure of the bee to gather the honey of the flower, but it is also the pleasure of the flower to yield its honey to the bee. For to the bee, a flower is a fountain of life, and to the flower, a bee is a message of love, messenger of love. And to both bee and flower, the giving and the receiving of pleasure is a need and an ecstasy. People of Orphalese, be in your pleasure like the flowers and the bees. And a poet said, speak to us of beauty. And he answered, where shall you seek beauty? How shall you find her unless she herself be your way and your guide? And how shall you speak of her except she be the weaver of your speech? The aggrieved and the injured say, beauty is kind and gentle. Like a young mother half shy of her own glory, she walks among us. And the passionate say, nay, the beauty is the thing of might and dread. Like the tempest, she shakes the earth beneath us and the sky above us. The tired and the weary say, beauty is of soft whisperings. She speaks in our spirit. Her voice yields to our silences like a faint light that quivers in the fear of the shadow. But the restless say, we have heard her shouting among the mountains. And with her cries came the sound of the hoofs and the beating of the wings and the roaring of the lions. At night, the watchmen of the city say, beauty shall rise within the dawn from the east. And at noontide, the toilers and the wayfarers say, we have seen her leaning over the earth from the windows of the sunset. In winter, in winter, say the snowbound, she shall come with the spring leaping upon the hills. And in the summer heat, the reapers say, we have seen her dancing in the autumn leaves, and we saw a drift of snow in her hand. All these things have you said of beauty, yet in truth you spoke not of her but of needs unsatisfied. And beauty is not a need but an ecstasy. It's not a mouth thirsting nor an empty hand stretched forth, but rather a heart inflamed and a soul enchanted. It's not the image you would see, nor the song you would hear, but rather an image you see though you close your eyes, and a song you hear though you shut your ears. It's not the sap within the furrowed bark, nor a wing attached or claw, but rather a garden forever in bloom and a flock of angels forever in flight. People of Orphalese, beauty is life when life unveils her holy face. But you are life, and you are the veil. Beauty is eternity gazing at itself in a mirror. But you are eternity, and you are the mirror. And an old priest said, speak to us of religion. And he said, have I spoken this day of aught else? Is not religion all deeds and all reflection? And that which is neither deed nor reflection, but a wonder and a surprise ever springing in the soul, even while the hands heave the stone and the tender loom. Who can separate his faith from his actions and his belief from his occupations? Who can spread his hours before saying, this for God and this for myself, this for my soul and this for my body? All your hours are wings that beat through the space from self to self. He who wears his mortality, but as his best garment, will better naked. The wind and the sun will tear no holes in his skin. And he who defines his conduct by ethics imprisons his songbird in a cage. The freest song comes not through bars and wires. And he to whom worshipping is a window, to whom to open but also to shut, has not yet visited the house of his soul, whose windows are from dawn to dawn. Your daily life is your temple and your religion. Whenever you enter into it, take with you your all. Take the plough and the forge and the mallet and the lute. The things you have fashioned is necessity or for delight, for in reverie you cannot rise above your achievements nor fall lower than your failures. And take with you all men, for in adoration you cannot fly higher than their hopes nor humble yourself lower than they aspire. And if you would know God, be not therefore a slower of riddles. Rather look about you, and you shall see him playing with your children. And look into space, you shall see him walking in the cloud, outstretching his arms in the lightning and the descending in rain. You shall see him smiling in flowers and then rising and waving his hands in the trees. Then Al-Mitr spoke, saying, we would ask now of death. And he said, you would know the secret of death. But how shall you find it unless you seek it in the heart of the life? The owl whose night bound eyes are blind unto the day cannot unveil the mystery of light. If you would indeed behold the spirit of the death, open your heart wide unto the body of the life. For life and the death are one, even as the river and the sea are one. In the depth of your hopes and the desires lies your silent knowledge of the beyond. And like seeds dreaming beneath the snow, your heart dreams of spring. Trust the dreams, for in them is hidden the gate of eternity. Your fear of death is but the trembling of the shepherd when he stands before the king whose hands is to be laid upon him in honor. Is the shepherd not joyful beneath his trembling that he shall be wearing the mark of the king? Yet is he not more mindful of his trembling. For what is to die but to stand naked in the wind and to melt into the snow? And what is to cease breathing but to free the breath from its restless tides, that it may rise and expand and seek God encumbered? Only when you drink from the river of silence shall you indeed sink, and when you have reached the mountain top, then you shall begin to climb. And when the earth shall claim your limbs, then shall you truly dance. And now it was evening, and Almith's Sirs said, Blessed be this day and this place, and your spirit that has spoken. And he answered, Was I who spoke? Was I not also a listener? Then he descended the steps of the mountain of the temple, and all the people followed him. And he reached his ship and stood upon the deck. And fancying the people again, he raised his voice and said, People of Orphalis, the wind bids me leave you. Less hasty am I than the wind, yet I must go. We wanderers, even seeking the lonelier way, begin no day where we have ended another day, and no sunrise finds us where sunset left us. Even while the earth sleeps when we travel, we are the seeds of the tenacious plant, and it's in our ripeness and our fullness of heart that we are given to the wind and are scattered. Brief were my days among you, and briefer still the words that I have spoken. But should my voice fade in your ears, and my love vanish in your memory, then I will come again, and with a richer heart, and the lips more yielding to the spirit will I speak. Yeah, I shall return with the tide. And though the death may hide me, and the greater silence unfold me, yet again I will seek your understanding, and not in vain will I seek. If aught I have said is truth, and the truth shall reveal itself as a in a clearer wise, and in words more akin to your thoughts. I go with the wind, people of our place, but not down into emptiness. And if this day is not a fulfillment of your needs and my love, then let it be a promise till another day. Man's needs change, but not his love, nor his desires, that his love should satisfy his needs. Know therefore that from the greater silence I shall return. The mist that drifts away at dawn, leaving but dew in the fields, shall rise and gather in a cloud and then fall down in the rain. And not unlike the mist have I been. In the stillness of the night I have walked into your streets, and my spirit has entered your houses. And your heartbeats were in my heart, and your breath was upon my face, and I knew you all. I knew your joy and your pain and your sleep, your dreams, and but my dreams. And I often times I was among you, a lake among the mountains. I mirrored the summits in you, and bending slopes, and even the passing flocks of your thoughts and your desires. And to my silence came the laughter of your children in your streams, and the longing of your youth in the rivers. And when they reached my depth, the streams and the rivers ceased not yet to sing. But sweeter still than the laughter, and greater than longing came to me. It was the boundless in you, the vast man in whom you are all but cells and signs. He in whose chants all your singing is but a soundless throbbing. It is in the vast man that you are vast, and in beholding him that I behold you and loved you. For what distances can love reach that are not in the vast sphere? What visions, what expectations, and what presumptions can outsoar their flight? Like a giant oak tree covered with apples blossoms in the vast man in you. His might binds you to the earth. His fragrance lifts you into the space, and in his durability, you are deathless. You have been told that even like a chain, you are as weak as your weakest link. This is but half the truth. You are also as strong as your strongest link. To measure you by your smallest deed is to reckon the power of your ocean, of the frailty of its foam. To judge you by your failures is to cast blame upon the seasons or their inconstancy. You are like an ocean. And though heavy grounded ships await the tide upon your shores, yet, even like an ocean, you cannot hasten your tides. And like the seasons, you are also. And though in your winter you deny your spring, and yet spring, reposing within you, smiles in her rousiness and is not offended. Think not I say these in order that you may say the one to the other. He praised us all. He saw but the good in us. I only speak to you in words of that which you yourself knew in thought. And what is world knowledge but a shadow of worldless knowledge? Your thoughts and my words are waves from a sealed memory that keeps records of yesterdays and of the ancient days, when the earth knew not of us nor herself, and of nights when earth was upwrought with confusion. Wise men have come to you to give you their wisdom. I came to you I came to take off your wisdom. And behold, I have found that which is greater than wisdom. It's a flame spirit. It's a flame spirit in you, ever gathering for more of itself. While in you, headless of its expansion, bewail the withering of your days. It is life in quest of life in bodies that fear the grave. There are no graves here. These mountains and the plains are a cradle and a stepping stone. Whenever you pass by the fields where you have laid your ancestors, look well thereupon, and you shall see yourselves and your children dancing hand in hand. Verily, you often make merry without knowing. Others have come to you to whom, for golden promises made unto your faith, you have given but riches and a purse and a glory. Less than a promise have I given, and yet more generous have you been to me. You have given me my deeper thirsting after life. Surely there is no greater gift to a man that which turns all his aims into the parching lips and all life into a fountain. Uh, Thank you, Japneet. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so I think we have finished 80% of this book. अब 20% रह गई है, तो ये कल कर लेते हैं, ठीक है ना? थोड़ा सा ही अब रह गया, I guess 20%. So we will finish it tomorrow, inshallah. So if you want me people to start with the one which I earlier mentioned, पहले देख लेते पोल किसने जीता. First of all, let's look at the poll. Oh, ये तो ऑलमोस्ट खत्म हो ही गई, ये कल खत्म हो जाएगी ये वाली किताब, ठीक है ना? सो बी विद मी जिसने पहले स्टार्टिंग से ही सुना, तो वेट वेट वेट. So I guess this Paulo Coelho is winning and Ravish Kumar is losing. 47% and 53% voting. 53 are in favor of Paulo Coelho and 47 are in favor of Ravish Kumar. I am also in favor of Ravish Kumar, but my vote doesn't count. I do have the casting vote if there is a tie between the two. So आप क्या चाहते हो, हम 24 आवर्स वेट करें इस वोटिंग का, या हम अभी इसका डिसीजन ले? प्लीज जल्दी बता दीजिए. इफ यू वांट मी टू डिसाइड राइट नाउ, सो आई विल डिसाइड इट राइट नाउ. अगर कल तो कल सही, जैसा आप बोले. मेरे पास दोनों पड़ी हैं बुक, दोनों. एक ये भी मैं बता दूं कि इसकी एल्केमिस्ट पढ़ूंगा मैं, दी एल्केमिस्ट. और I think there's a connection problem. It is showing your connection is unstable. Oh, am I audible? Guys, am I audible? Am I audible? Please comment down. Hello, hello, hello. माइक चेक 1 2 3. ओके. हाँ. तो रवीश कुमार की जो मेरे पास बुक पड़ी है, ये है फ्री वाइस ऑन डेमोक्रेसी कल्चर एंड द नेशन. बहुत खूबसूरत बुक है. आई रियली लाइक इट. आई थिंक मैंने बहुत कम बुक्स पढ़ी हैं, और उनमें से एक बुक ये भी है, बिकॉज रवीश हैज़ बीन माई फेवरेट, ऑल टाइम फेवरेट. सो व्हेन ही एक्चुअली पब्लिश्ड इट, तो आई थॉट इसको पढ़ ही लेते हैं. तो आई जस्ट रेड इट. पॉलो कोलोहो को मैं पर्सनली पसंद नहीं करता, लेकिन अब क्या करें. अब जिसको, अब वही है ना, ट्रेंड है, क्या कर सकते हैं. कश्मीरी में हम कहते हैं नाव लगुन को नार लगुन. हाँ. तो इसका नाम आ गया, तो आई थॉट बता देते हैं आप लोगों को. अदरवाइज मेरे पास और भी बुक्स थी. जैसे मैं थोड़ा सा कहूँगा यहाँ पे कौन कौन सी बुक है मेरे पास अभी भी. आई हैव दिस गुजरात फाइल्स बाय राणा अयूब, सबको पता होगी ये. आई हैव गॉड ऑफ स्मॉल थिंग्स, अरुंधति रॉय. एंड अरुंधति रॉय की और एक है मेरे पास, इट्स मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ अटमोस्ट हैप्पीनेस. हाँ, अगर आगे जाके आपको मतलब पसंद आए तो हम कंटिन्यू करेंगे किसी और बुक के साथ. तो और भी हैं, इकबाल्स रिकंस्ट्रक्शन, ये तो आप बिल्कुल भी नहीं पसंद करोगे. हाँ, इसकी भी है. ये मुझे बहुत पसंद है खुद, जो मैं आपको कहूँगा अब. ये वाली बुक, एपीजे अब्दुल कलाम की, ये क्या नाम है उस, विंग्स ऑन फायर. हाँ, विंग्स ऑन फायर, ये भी मैंने पढ़ी है. तो ये बढ़िया है बुक, बढ़िया है. बाकी अगर आप सजेस्ट करोगे तो वो पढ़ेंगे. लेट्स यूज दिस आर. ठीक है ना. तो ठीक है, लेट्स वेट. कल तक वेट करेंगे, देखते हैं कौन जीता है इसमें. ओशो, हाँ, ओशो का मैं आई सी टू इट, मैंने उनका पढ़ा है बहुत सारा. तो उसका मटेरियल निचोड़ के मैं लाऊंगा, कोई बात नहीं, ओशो भी पढ़ेंगे इंशाल्लाह. हाँ. तो लेट्स वेट टिल टुमारो, देखते हैं कौन जीतता है इसमें. मेरे हिसाब से तो ये पोलो कोलो ही जीतेगा, बड़ा फेमस है. और इसकी वो एल्केमिस्ट बड़ी फेमस बुक है. सो रवीश कुमार तो, मतलब लोगों को एनडीटीवी एंड रवीश कुमार कोरिलेशन है वही दिमाग में. बुक तो मेरे ख्याल से है नहीं दिमाग में. लोगों के दिमाग में घुसेगा नहीं कभी जर्नलिस्ट कुछ लिख सकता है. बट ऐसा है कि वो जब प्राइम टाइम करते हैं उससे पहले वो काफ़ी सारी बुक्स पढ़ लेते हैं. ही डज अ लॉट ऑफ रिसर्च. तो आउट ऑफ दैट रिसर्च कहीं ना कहीं टाइपराइटर पे छापते छापते कहीं ना कहीं उनका ये माइंड जो है यहाँ भी चला गया होगा कि चलो कुछ लिख लेते हैं, और उन्होंने जो लिखा है बहुत बेहतरीन लिखा है. सो गाइस, आई गेस व्हाट यू से, फिनिश करें इस बुक को, द प्रॉफिट को. आई थिंक वी शुड फिनिश इट. थोड़ा सा ही है, इसको फिनिश करते हैं. ठीक है ना. इसको फिनिश करते हैं, कल फिर दूसरी बुक उठाएंगे. लेट्स फिनिश इट. आई थिंक it will take me around 5 minutes. So he says, and in this lies my honor and my reward, that whenever I come to the fountain to drink, I find the living water itself thirsty, and it drinks me while I drink it. So तो इसको समझने के लिए it takes a brain. थोड़ा सा जब भी फुर्सत मिले समझिएगा कि क्या कह रहा है. Some of you have deemed me proud and overshy to receive gifts. Too proud indeed am I to receive weights but not gifts. And though I have eaten berries among the hills when you have had me to sit at your board, you slept in the portico of the temple when you would gladly have sheltered me. Yet it was it not your loving mindfulness of my days and my nights that made food sweet to my mouth and girdled my sleep with visions? For this I bless you most. You give much and know that you give it all. Verily the kindness that gazes upon itself as a mirror turns to stone. And a day deed and a good deed and a good deed that calls itself by tender names becomes the parent to a curse. And some of you have called me aloof and drunk with my own aloneness. This is so beautiful. And some of you have called me aloof and drunk with my own aloneness. And you have said, he holds counsel with the trees of the forests, but not with men. He sits alone on the hilltops and looks down upon your city. True it is that I have climbed the hills and walked in remote places. How could I have seen you save from a great height or a great distance? How can one be indeed near unless he be far? And others among you called me not in words, they said, stranger, stranger, lover of unreachable heights. Why dwell you among the summits where eagles build their nests? Why seek you the unattainable? What storm, what storms would you trap in your net? And bird, what vaporous bird do you hunt in the sky? Come and be one of us. Descend and appease your hunger with our bread, and quench your thirst with our wine. In the solitude of their souls, they said these things. But were their solitude deeper, they would have known that I sought but the secret of your joy and your pain, and I hunted only your larger selves that walk the sky. But the hunter was also hunted, for many of my arrows left my bow only to seek my own breast. And the flyer was also the creeper, for when my wings were spread in the sun, their shadow upon the earth was a turtle. And I, the believer, was also the doubter. For often have I put my finger on my own wound, and that I might have the greater belief in you and greater knowledge of you. And it is with this belief and this knowledge that I say, you are not enclosed within your bodies, not confined to houses or fields. Dwells, that which is you dwells above the mountains and the rows with the winds. It is not a thing that crawls into the sun for warmth or dig holes into the darkness for safety, but a thing free, a spirit that envelops the earth and moves into the ether. If these be vague words, then seek not to clear them. Vague and nebulous is the beginning of all things, but not their end. And I fain would you have remembered me as a beginning. Life and all that lives is conceived in the mist and not in the crystal. And who knows but a crystal is mist in decay. This would I have you remember in remembering me. That which seems most feeble and bewildered in you is the strongest and the most determined. Is it not your breath that has erected and hardened the structure of your bones? And is it not a dream which none of you remember having dreamt that builded your city and fashioned all there is in it? Could you but see the tides of your breath, you would cease to see all else. And if you could hear the whispering of your dreams, you would hear no other sound. But you do not see, nor do you hear, and it is well. The veil that clouds your eyes shall be lifted by your hands that wove it, and the clay that fills your ears shall be pierced by those fingers that kneaded it. And you shall see, and you shall hear. Yet you shall not deplore having known blindness, not regretting having been deaf. For in that day you shall know the hidden purposes in all things, and you shall bless darkness as you would bless light. And after saying these things, he looked about him. He saw the pilot of the ship standing by the helm and gazing now at the full sails and now at a distance. And he said, "Patient, over patient is the captain of my ship. The wind blows, and the restless are the sails. Even the rudder begs the direction. Yet quietly my captain awaits my silence. And these mariners, who have heard the choir of the greatest sea, they too have heard me patiently. Now they still wait no longer. I am ready. The stream has reached the sea, and once more the great mother holds her son against her breast. Fare you well, people of Orphalese. This day has ended, its closing upon us, even as the water lily upon its own water, its own tomorrow. What was given us here, we shall keep. And if it suffices not, then again must we come together and together stretch our hands unto the giver. Forget not that I shall come back to you a little while, and my longing shall gather dust and foam for another body. A little while, a moment of rest upon the wind, and another woman shall bear me. Farewell to you and the youth that I have spent with you. It was but yesterday we met in a dream. You have sung to me in my aloneness, and I of your longings have built a tower in the sky. But now our sleep has fled, and our dream is over, and it is no longer dawn. The noontide is upon us, and our half waking has turned to fuller day, and we must apart. If in this twilight of memory we should meet once more, we shall speak again together, and you shall sing to me a deeper song. And if our hands should meet in another dream, we shall build another tower in the sky. So saying, he made a signal to the seamen, and straightway they weighed anchor and cast the ship loose from its moorings, and they moved eastward. And a cry came from the people as from a single heart, and it rose in the dusk and was carried out over the sky like a great trumpeting. Only Almith was silent, gazing after the ship until it had vanished into the mist. And when all the people were dispersed, she still stood alone upon the sea wall, remembering in her heart his saying, "A little while, a moment of rest upon the wind, and another woman shall bear me." That's it. Walaikum assalam, Mr. Ab. We have we are done with Prophet. ये पढ़ ली. I guess so. तो हम कल देखते हैं इसमें कौन आगे जाता है, इन द सेंस जो हमने पोल रखा है. I would wish again कि रवीश कुमार ही इसको जीत ले इस पोल को, बट यहाँ दीवाने पोलो कोलोहे के हैं, अल्केमिस्ट के हैं, क्या कर सकते हैं. दिनचक पूजा ज़्यादा चलती है एज कम्पेयर टू बाकी सिंगर्स की. सो मैं एक आइडिया दे दूं कि जो रवीश कुमार की बुक है, इट्स अ काइंड ऑफ अ सोशियो पॉलिटिकल अकाउंट of the temporary or contemporary world which we are living in, especially of the subcontinent. तो इसमें फिर रवीश कुमार थोड़ा बहुत वो एक, उसको क्या कहेंगे हम, जिस तरह एक सिनेमेटिक फ्रीडम होता है अगर किसी की ऑटोबायोग्राफी हो, तो उसमें कुछ ऐसी चीज़ें डाली जाती हैं जो उस ऑटोबायोग्राफी में नहीं होती. सो दैट्स व्हाट सिनेमेटिक फ्रीडम इज ऑल अबाउट. इसी तरह जब कोई बुक लिखता है तो थोड़ा सा उधर इधर भटक जाता है, तो वो चीज़ है इसमें. वो मैं कहूँगा कैसे है और कहाँ पे है. जो एल्केमिस्ट है तो वो तो है ही, वो तो सबको पता है वो क्या है. वो फिर देखेंगे कल. हाँ, रवीश कुमार इज माई ऑल टाइम फेवरेट. सो देखते हैं। मुझे लगता है मुझे अपने फेक अकाउंट बनाने पड़ेंगे और रवीश को वोट डालना पड़ेगा। So recently, I ran a poll on YouTube itself on this ID, in which I actually told you people to vote for the recording itself. किसकी recording की जाए? Whom should be recorded next? So people chose फराज, अहमद फराज। अब जब जॉन इलिया ऊपर से देख रहे होंगे, वो कहेंगे बदबख्त ये चैनल ही बंद कर ले तू। अगर तूने फराज का सुना है ना, वी शैल आई विल कम अगेन इन योर ड्रीम लेमेंटिंग यू। सो ठीक है, कोई मसला नहीं। सो कल तक हम वेट करेंगे। वी शिल वेट। कल पता चल जाएगी रवीश कुमार या पोलो कोलो हो। सो देयर इज अ जोक, वो मैं कहूंगा। एक पिज्जा का एक किस्म आता है, आप सबको पता होगी। पिज्जा के बहुत सारे किस्म हैं। एक किस्म उसमें जो है, वो जो बड़ा मशहूर है, वो मैं एक जोक आपके साथ कह रहा हूँ कि आई डोंट नो हाउ टू प्रोनाउंस दैट वर्ड। ठीक है ना? तो मैं उसको क्या कहता हूँ? मैं कहता हूँ उसको मदर टेरेसा पिज्जा। ठीक है। तो इसी तरह पोलो कोलो हो को मैं पोलो कोलो हो पढ़ता हूँ, पोलो कोलो। ओके, जॉन साहब से स्ट्रीम और एंड। चलिए कल देखते हैं अब क्या होता है। हाँ ठीक है, जॉन साहब का पढ़ेंगे, कुछ ना कुछ तो पढ़ेंगे। जॉन और अहमद फराज का भी पढ़ेंगे, या फैज का पढ़ेंगे। सो वी हैव फिनिश्ड द प्रॉफिट। ठीक है, हमने पढ़ लिया वो। तो जो रहा यहाँ पे उसने सुन लिया, जो नहीं रहा उसने नहीं सुन लिया। जिसको सुनना है वो फिर से स्ट्रीम देख ले। तो मैं इसको समझा नहीं सकता, मैं इसको नहीं समझा सकता, क्योंकि अगर मैं समझाने लगूं इट विल टेक अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम। ठीक है ना? तो उतना हम यहाँ पे एफर्ट कर नहीं सकते हैं। हाँ करेंगे, हम इंशाल्लाह शुरू करेंगे, मतलब बुक को समझाना वगैरह वो सब जब यहाँ रीच ज़्यादा बढ़ जाएगी। ठीक है ना? तब अगर मैं अपनी एनर्जी दूंगा भी तो वो ठीक से रहेगा। अभी तो फिलहाल रीच बहुत कम है। तो जॉन फरमाते हैं कि हम तो जैसे वहाँ के थे ही नहीं, हम तो जैसे वहाँ के थे ही नहीं, बेअमा थे, अमा के थे ही नहीं। हम के हैं तेरी दास्तां अक्सर, हम तेरी दास्तां के थे ही नहीं। उनको आंधी में ही बिखरना था, वो आंधी में ही बिखरना था, बालों पर आशियां के थे ही नहीं। अब हमारा मकां किसका है, हम तो अपने मकां के थे ही नहीं। ओ तेरी खाके आस्तां पे सलाम, हम तेरी आस्तां के थे ही नहीं। हमने रंजिश में ये नहीं सोचा, कुछ सुखन तो ज़बां के थे ही नहीं। दिल ने डाला था दरमियाँ जिनको, लोग वो दरमियाँ के थे ही नहीं। उस कली ने ये सुन के सब्र किया, जाने वाले यहाँ के थे ही नहीं। हम तो जैसे वहाँ के थे ही नहीं, बेअमा थे, अमा के थे ही नहीं। हाँ तो जॉन का कुछ और पढ़ते हैं कि फरमाते हैं कि अब किसी से मेरा हिसाब नहीं, अब किसी से मेरा हिसाब नहीं, मेरी आंखों में कोई ख्वाब नहीं। अब किसी से मेरा हिसाब नहीं, मेरी आंखों में कोई ख्वाब नहीं। खून के घूंट पी रहा हूं मैं, ये मेरा खून है शराब नहीं। मैं शराबी हूँ, मेरी आस न छीन। मैं शराबी हूँ, मेरी आस न छीन, तू मेरी आस है शराब नहीं। नोच फेंके लबों से मैंने सवाल, नोच फेंके लबों से मैंने सवाल, ताकते शौकीए जवाब नहीं। अब तो पंजाब भी पंजाब नहीं, और खुद जैसा अब दुआब नहीं। गम आबाद का नहीं है, आन का है, और इसका कोई हिसाब नहीं। अब किसी से मेरा हिसाब नहीं, मेरी आंखों में कोई ख्वाब नहीं। इसी के साथ फरमाते हैं कि डिफरेंट डिफरेंट पढ़ रहा हूँ मैं, बाकी यूजुअली जो पढ़ा है वो तो पढ़ा ही है। फरमाते हैं कि बात कोई उम्मीद की मुझसे नहीं कही गई, बात कोई उम्मीद की मुझसे नहीं कही गई, सो मेरे ख्वाब भी गए, सो मेरी नींद भी गई। दिल का था एक मुद्दा जिसने तबाह कर दिया, दिल का था एक मुद्दा जिसने तबाह कर दिया। दिल में थी एक ही तो बात, वो जो फकत सही गई। जानिए क्या तलाश थी जौन मेरे वजूद में, जिसको मैं ढूंढता गया, जो मुझे ढूंढती गई। एक खुशी का हाल है खुश सुखना के दरमिया, इज्जत शाई की ने गम थी जो रही सही गई। खुदो नाबूद की तमीज एक अजाब थी की थी, जाने तमाम जिंदगी धूम में डूबती गई। ये जमाल का था दिन मेरे वजूद, और फिर सुबह से धूप पी गई, रात से चांदनी गई। जब मैं था शहरजाद का था मेरा हर नफ्स आजाद, फिर मैं वहां का था जहां हालत जात पी गई। गर्द फशा हूं दश्त में सीना जना हूं शोर में, थी जो सबात समत दिल जाने कहाँ चली गई। तुमने बहुत शराब पी, उसका सभी को दुख है जान, और जो दुख है वो ये है कि तुमको शराब पी गई। शराब से मुझे शराब याद आया। अब अगर शराब का ना पड़े तो ये भी गलत बात है, वो भी ख्वाब में आ जाएंगे। क्यों इस तरह अब तो मिलते नहीं। सो शराब का पढ़ते हैं ये वाला कलाम। अब हमारा किसी को इंतजार नहीं था, शब थी शायद कोई बेदार नहीं था। अब हमारा किसी को इंतजार नहीं था, शब थी शायद कोई बेदार नहीं था। अपने दिल की तो हम रखे हुए थे खबर, अपने दिल की तो हम रखे हुए थे खबर। सितम है कि अब जहन को भी करार नहीं था। वो जो था बापर्दा खुदा नहीं था वो जो था बापर्दा खुदा नहीं था वो, फकत मुझे भी खुदा पर एतबार नहीं था। अहदे तर्क इश्क हम भूल ही गए थे, यानी हमारे दिल पर कभी इख्तियार नहीं था। मैं तो दश्ते दीद से मर गया हूँ, असल में मैं कभी जानिसार नहीं था। समझ लिया है हमको बादकश तुमने आफत जां, ये इश्क ही था जाना खुमार नहीं था। क्या तुझे कभी ख्याल भी नहीं आता अदल का, तू तो कभी इतना बेआर नहीं था। मैं तो अक्स जिंदगी से हर दफा बेजार, यानी कभी असल में बेजार नहीं था। फिर इसके बाद अहमद फराज से हम इसको इख्तिताम करेंगे स्ट्रीम को जल्दी जल्दी। खुदा सवाल को फोन ते बिहित डब खोट बदला हूं ये दो टाइम पनो। अहमद फराज साहब, अब जो लड़ाई होगी वो अलग बात है। ये पढ़ लेते हैं, कभी पढ़ा नहीं है तो सुन लीजिए। अहमद दराज साहब। अभी कुछ और करिश्मे गजल के देखे, फराज अब जरा लहजा बदल के देखते हैं। जुदाइयां तो मुकद्दर हैं फिर भी जाने सफर, जुदाइयां तो मुकद्दर है फिर भी जाने सफर, कुछ और दूर जरा साथ चल के देखते हैं। रहे वफा में हरीफे खिराम कोई तो हो, रहे वफा में हरीफे खिराम कोई तो हो, सो अपने आप से आगे निकल के देखते हैं। तू सामने है तो फिर क्यों यकीन नहीं आता, तू सामने है तो फिर क्यों यकीन नहीं आता, ये बार बार जो आंखों को मल के देखते हैं। हाय राह वफा में हरीफे खिराम कोई तो हो, सो अपने आप से आगे निकल के देखते हैं। अभी कुछ और करिश्मे गजल के देखते हैं, फराज अब जरा लहजा बदल के देखते हैं। जुदाइयां तो मुकद्दर हैं फिर भी जाने सफर, कुछ और दूर जरा साथ चल के देखते हैं। तू सामने है तो फिर क्यों नहीं यकीन आता, ये बार बार जो आंखों को मल के देखते हैं। ये कौन लोग हैं मौजूद तेरी महफिल में, ये कौन लोग हैं मौजूद तेरी महफिल में, जो लालचों से तुझे मुझको जल के देखते हैं। ये कौन लोग हैं मौजूद तेरी महफिल में, जो लालचों से तुझे मुझको झल के देखते हैं। ये कुर्ब क्या है कि यकजां हुए न दूर रहे, ये कुर्ब क्या है जो यकजां हुए न दूर हुए, हजार एक ही कालिब में ढल के देखते हैं। न तुझको मात हुई, न तुझको मात हुई है न मुझको मात हुई, सो अब के दोनों ही चालें बदल के देखते हैं। न तुझको मात हुई है न मुझको मात हुई, सो अब के दोनों ही चालें बदल के देखते हैं। ये कौन है, ये कौन है साराए साहिल की डूबने वाले, समंदरों की तहों से उछल के देखते हैं। अभी तलक तो न कुंदन हुए न राख हुए, अभी तलक तो न कुंदन हुए न राख हुए, हम अपनी आग में हर रोज जल के देखते हैं। अभी तलक तो न कुंदन हुए न राख हुए, हम अपनी आग में हर रोज जल के देखते हैं। बहुत दिनों से नहीं है कुछ उसकी खैर खबर, चलो फराज को ए यार चल के देखते हैं। जब इन्होंने ये फरमाया ना कि तू सामने है तो फिर यकीन क्यों नहीं आता, ये बार बार जो आंखों को मल के देखते हैं, यहां मुझे यकीन हो गया कि फराज को मायोपिया था। मैं क्या करूं, ये शेर ही ऐसा है। अब जो फराज के दीवाने, आई एम रियली सॉरी। चलिए कुछ और पढ़ता हूँ। मैंने बाकी जो पढ़े हैं, बाकी आपको पता है मैंने 1000 दफा पढ़े होंगे। सुना है लोग वो 1000 दफा पढ़ी है। रंजिश ही सही बहुत बार पढ़ा है, आपके बिछड़े हम बहुत बार पढ़ा है, आंख से दूर न हो बहुत बार पढ़ा है, इससे पहले कि बेवफा हो जाए बहुत बार पढ़ा है, जिंदगी से यही गिला है मुझे 1000 दफा पढ़ा होगा, सिलसिले तोड़ गया बहुत बार पढ़ा है। ये सब पढ़े हैं तो मैं थोड़ा डिफरेंट डिफरेंट पढ़ रहा हूँ। अब क्या पता है, मुझे क्या पता थी इसमें मायोपिया निकलेगा अहमद फराज का। क्या यार, इसीलिए जॉन उनको बार बार कहते थे, फराज कबाब खाया कर। आई एम रियली सॉरी, इस तरह आप क्या करें। चलिए कुछ और डिफरेंट तर्ज का सुनाता हूँ। तेरी बातें ही सुनाने आए, तेरी बातें ही सुनाने आए, दोस्त भी दिल दुखाने आए। फूल खिलते हैं तो हम सोचते हैं, फूल खिलते हैं तो हम सोचते हैं, तेरे आने के जमाने आए। ऐसी कुछ चुप सी लगी है जैसे ऐसी कुछ चुप सी लगी है जैसे हम तुझे हाल सुनाने आए। इश्क तन्हा है सरे मंजिल गम, कौन ये बोझ उठाने आए। अजनबी दोस्त हमें देख के हम अजनबी दोस्त हमें देख के हम कुछ तुझे याद दिलाने आए। दिल धड़कता है सफर के हंगाम, काश फिर कोई बुलाने आए। अब तो रोने से भी दिल दुखता है, अब तो रोने से भी दिल दुखता है, शायद अब होश ठिकाने आए। क्या कहीं फिर कोई बस्ती उजड़ी, क्या कहीं फिर कोई बस्ती उजड़ी, लोग क्यों जश्न मनाने आए। क्या कहीं फिर कोई बस्ती उजड़ी, लोग क्यों जश्न मनाने आए। सो रहो मौत के पहलू में फराज, नींद किस वक्त न जाने आए। सो जब इन्होंने ये कहा ना कि फूल खिलते हैं तो हम सोचते हैं तेरे आने के ज़माने आए, तो मुझे लगा ये अली ज़रियूं है। आई एम रियली सॉरी ज़रा, मगर इतना नीचे कोई क्या है, आई नेवर थॉट फराज इतना नीचे जाए। चलिए और कुछ सुनाता हूँ डिफरेंट तर्ज का, बाकी तो आपने बहुत दफ़ा सुना। हाँ, ये वाला सुनिएगा, पहली बार पढ़ रहा हूँ खुद भी। जुस तेरे कोई भी दिन रात न जाने मेरे, तू कहाँ है मगर ए दोस्त पुराने मेरे। तू भी खुशबू है मगर मेरा तजस्सुस बेकार, तू भी खुशबू है मगर मेरा तजस्सुस बेकार। बरगे आवारा की मानंद ठिकाने मेरे, शम्म की लौ थी कि वो तू था मगर हिज्र की रात, देर तक रोता रहा कोई सिरहाने मेरे। खल्क की बेखबरी है कि मेरी रुसवाई, लोग मुझको ही सुनाते हैं फसाने मेरे। खल्क की बेखबरी है कि मेरी रुसवाई, लोग मुझको ही सुनाते हैं फसाने मेरे। शम्मा की लौ थी कि वो तू था मगर हिज्र की रात, देर तक रोता रहा कोई सिरहाने मेरे। लुट के भी खुश हूं कि अश्कों से भरा है दामन, लुट के भी खुश हूं कि अश्कों से भरा है दामन। देख गारते गरे दिल ये भी खजाने मेरे। आज एक और बरस बीत गया उसके बगैर, आज एक और बरस बीत गया उसके बगैर, जिसके होते हुए होते थे ज़माने मेरे। काश तू भी मेरी आवाज़ कहीं सुनता हो, काश तू भी मेरी आवाज़ कहीं सुनता हो, फिर पुकारा है तुझे दिल की सदा ने मेरे। काश तू भी कभी आ जाए मसीहा को, काश तू भी कभी आ जाए मसीहाई को, लोग आते हैं बहुत दिल को दुखाने मेरे। काश तू भी मेरी आवाज कहीं सुनता हो, दिल पुकारा है तुझे दिल की सदा ने मेरे। काश तू भी कभी आ जाए मसीहाई को, लोग आते हैं बहुत दिल को दुखाने मेरे। काश औरों की तरह मैं भी कभी कह सकता, काश औरों की तरह मैं भी कभी कह सकता, बात सुन ली है मेरी आज खुदा ने मेरे। काश तू भी कभी आ जाए मसीहाई को, लोग आते हैं बहुत दिल को दुखाने मेरे। काश औरों की तरह मैं भी कभी कह सकता, बात सुन ली है मेरी आज खुदा ने मेरे। तू है किस हाल में जूद फरामोश मेरे, मुझको तो छीन लिया अहद वफा ने मेरे। चार अगर यूं तो बहुत है मगर ए जाने फराज, चार अगर यूं तो बहुत है मगर ए जाने फराज, जुस तेरे और कोई जख्म न जाने मेरे, जुस तेरे कोई दिन भी रात न जाने मेरे। तू कहाँ है मगर ए दोस्त पुराने मेरे। काश तू भी कभी आ जाए मसीहाई को, लोग आते हैं बहुत दिल को दुखाने मेरे। काश औरों की तरह मैं भी कभी कह सकता, बात सुन ली है मेरी आज खुदा ने मेरे। तो जब इन्होंने ये कहा ना कि तू भी खुशबू है मगर मेरा मेरा तजस्सुस बेगार बरग़ आवारा की माने ठिकाने मेरे, तो मुझे लगा ये फैज़ के स्टूडेंट है। आई एम रियली सॉरी। क्या कर सकते, कोई भी फराज का यहाँ पे दीवाना बैठा हो, मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ। हमें तो जलन है इस शायर से। इस कदर मुसलसल थी शिद्दतें जुदाई की, इस कदर मुसलसल थी शिद्दतें जुदाई की, आज पहली बार उससे मैंने बेवफाई की, वरना अब तलक यूं था ख्वाहिशों की बारिश में, या तो टूट कर रोया या गजल सराई की, तज दिया था कल जिनको हमने तेरी चाहत में, आज उनसे मजबूरन ताज़ा आशनाई की। यहाँ पे मुझे सीधे तहज़ीब हाफ़ी लगते हैं। हो चला था जब मुझको इख्तिलाफ अपने से, तूने किस घड़ी ज़ालिम मेरी हमनवाई की, तर्क कर चुके कासिद कुए नामुरादा को, कौन अब खबर लावे शहर आशनाई की। ये सीधे कॉपी किया है इसने मीर ज़की मीर को। तंज़ो तानाओ तोहमत सब हुनर है नासिह के, आपसे कोई पूछे हमने क्या बुराई की। कॉपी करता है ये शायर। कॉपी ओपी लिखो चैट में। चलिए, टेक केयर एवरीवन, गुड नाइट। नहीं, मैं बस मजाक करता हूँ। अहमद फराज इज वन ऑफ द लेजेंडरी कॉपी शायर। चलिए, टेक केयर। हाँ, तो ये मैंने इससे पहले कहा भी है, अहमद फराज अगर एक हर्फ लिखते और हर्फ में एक नुक्ता हो और नुक्ते में जितनी इंक लगे, ठीक है ना, वो जो इंक लगती है, वो इंक जो लगती है उस नुक्ते में, उतनी शायरी हम लिख नहीं पाएंगे ताउम्र। टेक केयर।